From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Open Line tonight. I'm Carrie Sharp. Thank you, as always, for being with us. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the transgender bills making their way through our state legislature right now. I invite you to call in, ask questions. The number is on the screen, 615-737-PLUS. As you start thinking about things that you may want to ask on the topic, I want to introduce you to our guest tonight. Dahron Johnson joins me as part of the Tennessee Equality Project. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me and allowing for this opportunity for conversation on these important issues.
Yeah, we are going to have a good conversation tonight, and I want to talk about, first of all, your story, and I want our viewers to hear your story surrounding these issues and your life story. So I'm just going to kind of open the floor and let you take it from there.
Sure. Well, what brings me to the table today, I guess, is the part of my life where I try to consider myself an athlete. Right, I have been cycling since I was about 12 or 13 years old, and really to kind of tie together with some of the things that have been going on in the legislature. I mean, one of the reasons that I came to sport was to be able to find a home and to be able to find community, to help make sense of a body that was changing, and for the reasons that bring me here in this body today, to help make sense of a body that didn't always seem to make sense. And as I continued through my teenage years, I got more and more involved with cycling. I started racing in my late teens and early 20s. And cycling and that race community, I've worked in shops even off and on over the years. Those have all been formative parts of how I create community, have been able to create community no matter where I live, whether it's here in Nashville or when I lived in Hilo, Hawaii, or any place in between. That cycling and that sporting community was really key to helping me find my people. And so that's one of the reasons, one of the biggest reasons why these issues have been so important to me now, because I want other folks to be able to have that type of community and to find that type of support, no matter where they are and no matter who they are.
You have testified in front of our state legislature in different committees throughout this legislative session regarding the transgender bills that are making their way through the legislative process right now. And just to be real clear for people who are listening and want to participate in the conversation, you are a trans athlete.
That's correct.
What has been your message to our lawmakers? What is the overarching theme?
Well, I'd say, and the funny way to put it, but the most true way to put it is the issue that I bring is that there is no issue. That what has been raised as the impetus, as that which really is driving this legislation, is the problematization of trans female specifically, trans female participation, whether that's in middle or high school sports or with the legislation that was brought forward this year in post-secondary athletics. And that's not just intercollegiate play, but the language even includes intramural play as well too. And I've been the president of a university sports club. I have raced as a trans female. I've talked with coaches of middle and high school age teams. And in each instance, what I have experienced, what I'm hearing, what I've seen, is that there is not the issue on the ground, in the moment, in the competition that is being brought forward as the reasons that trans females shouldn't participate. It's not a great thing to own up to as an athlete who tries to do well, but you know, I haven't won, right? And so if this was going to be, if there is going to be the type of issue that is raised about trans female athletes, that as soon as they transition and they start participating in these sports, they're going to start being on the top of podiums. Well, that's not really necessarily the case. And if we allow participation from any athlete, doesn't matter who they are, not only do we have to be ready for them to lose, just to place, just to show up, but the great thing about sport is that anybody may also then do well on a particular day. And my hope is that we just allow as many folks as possible to take part and to try their hand and maybe lose quite a number of times, but then maybe also do well, do better on some others. And so it's just my hope that we can really try to find ways, rather than barring athletes from participating, whatever age, wherever they are in life, but actually be able to participate.
Yeah. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of these bills in just a second, but Jeff is on the line. He's going to kick us off tonight. Jeff, thank you for being with us.
Hello.
Hi, Jeff. Go ahead.
Yes, I appreciate y'all taking my call.
Sure.
I mean, I understand everybody's got their differences, and not everybody's the same. But what comes into play with me is when you've got males that have transgendered over to females, and you're, as in with the swimming team, the fella or woman, whatever it was, that won the sport event. I just don't see that being practical. Like I say, maybe we need to start a league of their own. I'm not trying to be mean or anything.
Right.
That we're not trying to put biological males with, biological females. And obviously a male can pretty much overtake a female most of the time. Now, I had a ex-old lady that beat me up pretty good one time, but I'm going to leave that alone.
Okay, Jeff. Hey, thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
I feel like when these have these conversations, people are kind of stepping gingerly most of the time because, I don't know how to say this. But I think at his heart he is saying what a lot of people are saying right now, especially with the conversation with I believe it's Leah Thomas.
Leah Thomas,
and,
that's correct.
With the NCAA swimming, she's a collegiate athlete. She just won a race, and it has just sparked this huge outcry and movement and discussion about how do we handle this. So there certainly is the issue in collegiate sports, and we do have someone who is, at the top of a podium, who is a transgender woman athlete. What's your response to Jeff?
Well, first of all, I'll just say I appreciate him taking the time to call in. And I, as much as anybody, am concerned about fair play. These are, after all, the fields in which I'm competing. I don't want anybody to have an unfair advantage over me. It feels like they do most days, but I am just as concerned about there being a fair competition. And so I think that it's a legitimate question that he's asking. However, I would point out, for example, that while Ms. Thomas did finish first in one event, that she finished fifth in another, that she finished eighth in another. And this seems like a pretty normal spread of results that we would expect from any good athlete, right? That they're going to have some events that they really excel in, and some that they're going to finish in the middle of the field or maybe even in the back of the pack. And that, to me, signals that the ability with which she is able to compete is much within the norm of the competition that's in the pool. A competition in the pool that we haven't spent a lot of time talking about either, right? And this is in addition to the point of the caller. But if we really do have a concern about women's sports, I think instead of just focusing on our concerns about one performance by one athlete, we should really be trying to lift up the rest of the women on Ms. Thomas's team. That we should be extolling, raising up the wins, the successes of the other women from the other teams that participated in that meet or in any other sporting event in which all types of women are participating. And so to focus on just one is really to do a disservice to the rest of the folks in the field. because her performance, while exceptional in this one occasion, was still kind of within the parameters of what we'd expect. After all, that performance, even Ms. Thomas's winning performance, and I apologize to Ms. Thomas to bring this up, right? But her time in that event was 7 or 8 seconds off of Katie Ledecky's record time in that event. And nobody said, well, Miss Ledecky is well ahead of the rest of the competition. We shouldn't allow her in the pool with any of these other folks until they can catch up with her ability level. Instead, we called her the normal kind of sporting terms, right? A phenomenon, a once-in-a-generation swimmer. And we should allow Miss Thomas and any of the other folks who are competing in that event or any other the same types of opportunities to achieve that type of success.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Lisa is on the line. Good evening, Lisa.
Yes.
Hi, go ahead.
Excuse me?
Go ahead, you're on the line.
I'm on what line?
You're on
goodness.
OpenLine. Did you call into OpenLine
Yes.
tonight? Go ahead.
I was just, I tuned in to hear this, and I still don't understand the whole, I just don't understand the whole thing with this transgender, however you identify as. And that's great. But what I don't get is people pushing their children into sports at too young of an age.
How do you think that intertwines with the transgender debate, with the age of getting into sports?
It really doesn't. It just seems like everyone wants to get their children, pushing them into sports, and it screws up their bodies. No, it doesn't. Oh my God! I shouldn't have my TV on.
Yeah, it's really confusing when you have your TV up. You have to turn down the television and just listen to your phone. I'll give you a second to do that.
I don't. It messes up children's bodies when they're pushed into sports too young, and I don't think there's a problem with it. Yeah, men are physically, as we've been conditioned to be, more physically strong than we are, or females are. But but I know way more women that are physically stronger than way more men I know. I don't think that's a problem. I don't understand the whole, I don't know.
You're grappling with it.
I see these girls, or these, even, I'm going to probably shoot myself in the foot saying this, but these young boys that themselves as female, because that's where their head is, and that's okay. I don't get that. I don't understand the problem with that. If that's how they see themselves, why are they not allowed to see themselves that way? And I wasn't, another way I'm going to shoot myself in the foot, I wasn't born in the South, and that doesn't mean I'm better or worse than anyone else, but it's a lot tougher here, I think.
Interesting. Dahron, any thoughts?
I want these kids to be loved.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be loved. I don't understand why you can't love someone for who they are, or who they want to be, who they see themselves to be.
Yeah, I think I would hope that is something that everybody can agree on, that every child deserves to be loved. Lisa, thank you for calling in. I appreciate you doing that. Have a good night.
Okay, I'm gonna let y'all go. I know you have better people talking than me.
It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Lisa. Thank you.
Keep up the good work and keep people informed.
All right, thank you, Lisa. You know, and I know that you have spoken about this, but at the end of the day, nobody wants to hurt children. Right?
Right.
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah, exactly. I would say that I would say that everyone starts at a place where they believe they're acting in interest to best protect children.
Yes.
Now, how that gets diverted along the way is concerning. And when you have legislation that doesn't allow for the very things that Lisa, the caller who just was on, wants children to be able to do, when you have legislation that prohibits the participation of folks as they are, where they are, who they are, then we've got issues. Then we start coming to loggerheads. And I think that's what we're seeing with this legislation. With Lisa, for example, was concerned about children's involvements at various ages with sport. And I would say, obviously, children should participate when they're ready and when they want to be able to participate. And then the other key part of that is that we want those sporting experiences for our children to be the place where they find growth of self, where they're able to create a sense of strength and resource in themselves, right? It's a place that they can, an early sort of forging point of their own autonomy and an ability to act not just for themselves, but with others as well. And we should really be doing all we can to create as many opportunities for that type of identity formation as possible for as wide a range of folks as possible, of children as possible, whether that's in middle school or in high school, or indeed even really in post-secondary education, because we understand that while this is a transitional age for folks who have just gone into their undergraduate learning experience, right, that they're still young adults,
yes.
right? I mean, we're very close in age, I'm sure, but that we want to let them have as many opportunities as possible to find resource in themselves and to be able to find strength in themselves. And so creating legislation that then prohibits children, prohibits young adults from being able to have those opportunities, that's when we start having issues.
We're going to take a quick break. We'd love for you to be a part of this conversation tonight. The number is on the screen, 615-737+. Go ahead, get those calls in, and we'll get them right after this break. Stay with us.